Ladies and gentlemen, board members of Loblaws, we are Team BYOC, and we are excited and honored to present our solution to you today. Before we move any further, allow me to introduce my team. We have Sumit, our operations specialist, Bhanu, our marketing head, Marco, our guy for quality assurance, and I, Salman Fayed, process the finances. We divided our solution into four parts. So let's look at the challenges presented by the recent COVID-19 pandemic and how we transformed them into opportunities. The pandemic has humbled the global supply chain, highlighting cracks and fissures, with retail taking the blunt of the force. It has also drastically changed how consumers interact with brands, maybe for the long run. During such an uncertain climate where most companies are thinking about survival, we want to push forward. From the pandemic, we have learned that to be successful, our solutions must have positive financial impact for our stakeholders. We must analyze external risks and trends, as well as analyze the internal value chain of the company to reduce potential bottlenecks on the supply chain. After analyzing Loblaws and their customer profiles, the retail industry, and sustainability trends, we believe now is the right time for Loblaws to introduce BYOC. We recommend installing dispensaries to replace 20% SKUs and redesigning the logistics to cater to the front-end changes. In the short run, it allows us to store greater product per square foot in storage, as well as reduce plastic wastages by saving on bottles and packaging. We'll see more about these in details further in the presentation. BYOC works in two parts. Our strategy allows us to acquire customers by implementing a client-facing strategy and thus grow company-wide sales by increasing foot traffic in our stores. On the back end, it allows us to reduce our average storage cost per square foot by replacing smaller pallets with larger containers. We redesigned the supply chain to optimize plastic recycling. This would allow us to cut down on plastic wastage as well as store greater volume of product to cater for potential shortages. One of the major challenges that retail companies faced during the pandemic was panic buy, resulting in major shortages. We believe BYOC could potentially provide our stores with greater lag time, allowing us to restock and thus continue operations. If implemented immediately, we also believe Loblaw can enjoy benefits that come from being the first to market and appeal to a sustainability-focused consumer group.
Now let's analyze the current market situation and trend. On analyzing the plastic consumption and waste situation in Canada, we realized that Canada produces almost 4,600 kilotons of plastic every year, out of which 86% of the plastic waste end up in landfill and only 9% is recycled. Packaging is a major contributor in plastic waste that contributes around 47%. In terms of impact, 1 kg of plastic produces 6 kg of CO2. So we have to understand that to achieve sustainability, we require plastic reduction, and just depending on recycling is not an alternative. Despite of knowing all the negative impact of the plastic, we are still using plastic in major packaging. So what's the reason behind it? Is it because consumers aren't aware about the impact of plastic on the environment? Turns out 67% of the consumer are environmentally aware and they're less likely to buy product that with harmful packaging. In fact, most of them wants to limit or have limited the use of single-use plastic, and they are willing to pay more for sustainable packaging, although there are some barriers to the change. Some feel that it's too expensive, inconvenient, time consuming, and difficult to apply. And for some, it's not available in their nearby area. So consumers aren't just aware about sustainability, but they are willing to change their purchasing habit too. The Canadian regulatory body is also committed towards achieving the sustainability. In the short term, Canadian government wants to restrict single-use plastic by 2021 end. They want to establish recycling requirement for the plastic products and packaging, and they want to mandate extended producer responsibility for plastic product. In the long term, they want to associate plastic with the list of toxic substance, and they want to achieve zero plastic waste by 2030. They want to have some regulation towards sustainability that can be expected towards in the near future. Along with consumer awareness and upcoming government regulation, the organizations showing their commitment towards sustainability. they have started few pilot projects to achieve their sustainability goal. Unilever is piloting a dispensing system that uses electric tricycle to deliver home care product. Dove and Olay has come in a refillable packaging that helps to reduce the plastic waste. So now the supply chain strategy and business plan are now focused toward refillable alternatives. On talking about the Canadian market, we'll understand that in the last 5 years, there's a decline in Loblaws market share and stagnant in the competitors. However, we've seen the growth in the US style chain hypermarket, and the COVID has caused a rise in the online and delivery model. There's a 1% decrease in the number of supermarket. So we have to understand that to revising trend requires revised value proposition, not an expansion.
As we have a better understanding of the current market trends, let's look at how BYOC intends to implement its strategic plan. Although BYOC is applicable across the globe, its current vision is to target all the 550 Loblaws corporate stores across Canada. To achieve this long-term goal, we want to start with Phase 1, or also known as the pilot project for 6 months, with one of the Loblaws store in London, Ontario. After analyzing the results from the pilot project, we plan to move to Phase 2, which gradually expands to 290 Loblaws corporate stores in the 3 biggest cities in Canada, which are Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, for a period of 2 years. Phase 2 would help BYOC to get a better understanding of its market among different geographic regions. Finally, in Phase 3, we will aim to scale BYOC to the next 260 stores across other cities to reach maximum number of consumers. The first year plan of BYOC will start with the process design and setup for its pilot project, which will take about 2 weeks. At the same time, we will run press releases on digital news and social media channels to attract customers to participate in the project. The next stage would be the pilot project, which will be run for 6 months. This would be the start of our omni-channel marketing approach, which targets the consumer on all social and digital channels. As part of the process, BYOC values in educating the consumer and answer all of their questions about the product and how it is going to make an environmental impact. We will target our audience starting from London for its pilot project and will continue to target our audience across the nation as Phase 2 and Phase 3 will roll out. From around the 3rd and 6th month, we will aim at partnering with NGOs and CCME, which is Canadian Council of Ministers of Environment, for promotional and funding opportunities. CCME has been strongly working towards attaining its zero plastic policy, so we think it would be ideal to partner with them. Moving forward, process design and setup would be coordinated together for Phase 2 rollout. You might be curious to know that why we picked London as our pilot project. Well, the population of the city is about 400,000. It is a mid-sized city which has a very close representation of Canadian population and has a very diverse economy. This is why London is one of the best picks for test projects for many businesses. During this phase, we will compare how Loblaw performs against competitors and its affordable franchisee stores. Now diving a bit deeper, we want to highlight 3 key operational segments: equipment, a new logistics process, and integrating the supplies. When it comes to the design of the equipment, the dispenser for the pilot project would contain about the same amount of item as consumed in bottles. An estimated calculation is about 40 liters, which aligns with the health and safety regulations for shipping standards to keep the weight under 45 liters. As BYOC values promoting local businesses, the dispensers for the London project would be sourced from a local manufacturer like Dispenser Amenities Incorporation. For Phase 2 rollout, a bidding process would help in selecting single or multiple manufacturers located near BYOC stores. To allow smooth logistics, the warehouse design would include storage facility and a quality monitoring procedure for containers. More importantly, we want to ensure that the net impact on the environment is comparatively lower with the new model. The empty containers and reusable plastic pallet wraps would be transported back via the delivery vehicle to minimize CO2 emissions. This process would allow a circular supply chain. Having local suppliers would also help in a faster repairing and recycling process, with the option of multiple pallet wrap suppliers. BYOC will help accomplish Loblaws to commit $1.5 million to be able to purchase the private label products in this new format, and also present this concept to manufacturers like P&G and Unilever. The details from the pilot phase would also be specified to the manufacturers about quantity of products sold at distributors versus private stores. In phase 2, standard offerings would be integrated from suppliers for slotting fees to promote BYOC, and also encourage the product manufacturers to supply bulk products with their own logistics.
Finally, let's take a look at the financials for the BYOC business plan. The BYOC plan involves a redesign of the logistics process, in-store operations, and marketing for Loblaws Corporation. So we'll examine the costs associated with each of these elements, as well as the metrics used to monitor implementation success. From a logistics standpoint, this business plan allows Loblaws Corporation to better utilize pallet space and improve reception efficiency and quality. However, maintaining extra warehouse space for empty containers, as well as planning for transportation back to distribution centers, will engender extra costs. From an ecological point of view, being able to reduce shrink wrap in the logistics process through the use of reusable pallet wraps allows Loblaws to reduce its plastic usage throughout its supply ecosystem. From an operational standpoint, this program allows Loblaws Corporation a better control of inventory by reducing stocking and facing time, as well as by improving the tracking of inventory on shelf. This program will engender costs in terms of purchasing and maintaining dispensers, as well as additional customer support in the early going. Ecologically, being able to allow customers to bring in their own containers allows Loblaws to reduce plastic manufacturing throughout its supply chain. By tracking the metrics on the right, managers will be able to better monitor the success of the program from an operational standpoint. Further analysis of customer dwell time could lead to new opportunities as well. Concurrently, using data on sell-through in the new dispensers will build a case for Loblaws Corporation to increase its slotting fees. The BYOC plan makes financial sense due to its potential for increasing sales for Loblaws Corporation stores. With a limited marketing budget involving in-store displays, some traditional and social media, and expected earned media and word of mouth, this plan will increase Loblaws customer engagement while reducing acquisition cost. Seeing as a strategy is something that aligns with Canadian values, but is not readily available, at least not conveniently, to Canadians, being the first to market will provide growth in terms of foot traffic and increase customer retention. We have previously broken down the potential costs and benefits available from an operations and logistics redesign. The overall impact per store is shown on the left. Combined, the net operating expense for the BYOC plan is under $80,000 per year per store, whereas the increase in foot traffic and customer retention will grow sales by up to $1.2 million in a market-level corporate store. Overall, the implementation of BYOC requires little startup funds and low recurring operating expenses, while providing a unique customer attraction strategy. Finally, we have an overview of the BYOC plan in action. This plan is expected to break even within 1.5 to 3.5 years, and post-implementation will grow Loblaws Corporation sales by almost $500 million throughout the corporate stores. From an ecological point of view, this plan will reduce plastic manufacturing by up to 200 tons per year, both in terms of manufacturing containers and in terms of plastic used throughout the supply chain. In sum, the BYOC plan is one that is financially viable, ecologically beneficial, and in line with the corporate values of Loblaws Corporation as well as its suppliers.